Hi, welcome to This Reader's Life, Books and Other Blessings. This is my channel. My name is Stephanie, and I am so glad that you stopped by. Today we're getting close to the end of May. It is May, I think it's the 26th. I've been busy gardening, and I've let a lot of things go. I have still done some reading, which is what we're going to do today, is wrap up May and talk about the books that I read. There's about 4 that I'll talk about, a couple that I didn't finish, and one that I'm still reading that I haven't finished yet, and it's probably one of the longer ones that I had chosen. The one that I haven't finished yet is Undaunted Courage by Stephen E. Ambrose, and it is a nonfiction book about the Lewis and Clark expedition, and when they explored the Louisiana Purchase, which had happened frequently, and Thomas Jefferson organized the expedition, and that's what the book is about. It's a good book, and I'm enjoying it. It is a little bit boring from time to time, and I find that with almost any nonfiction that is very, very true to the story. Not every minute is exciting. So, but at any rate, I plan to finish that book, but that is one that I had put on my to be read that I have not finished at this point. So, there were 2 that I did not finish. The first one, and both of them are books that have some merit, and I may come back to them. But I did not finish them, and I had a reason for both of them, but other than time and that the library loan was coming due. But The Robe is one of them, and The Robe was written by Lloyd C. Douglas in 1942, and it is a fictionalized account of what happened to the clothing of Jesus Christ after his crucifixion. And it's known that biblically, it's known that the Roman soldiers gambled through lots or played dice through dice for his clothing. And this is a fictionalized account of what the Roman soldier who won his robe, what happened to him and his story after he but took possession of the robe. So I like the story. I feel like it was, and it is fictionalized, so it's not a true story, but it's interesting, and I think the idea of writing about that is interesting. What I didn't like about the book is the dialogue. I felt like the setting and the time and the history that is given was very appropriate, but the dialogue sounded very much like 19th or 20th century or 21st century dialogue and or speech pattern syntax, and I didn't enjoy that part. So for the time being, I put it down. It's a pretty hefty book. The other one that I did not finish was When Ghosts Come Home by Wiley Cash, and this I really did this to myself. I thought that Wiley Cash had been the author of a book that I truly loved, which is called Crooked Letter, Crooked Letter. But in fact, Wiley Cash did not write Crooked Letter, Crooked Letter. I believe it was written by Thomas Franklin, and he has written some other books that I might try to read, but this particular book, I don't know where I came up with the idea that Wiley Cash had written Crooked Letter, but because of that, because my library loan was almost due, I went ahead and returned that book. I might come back to it to read it at another time, but I did not finish that book. So there's those 2. Now, one that I did finish that I'm going to enjoy these for as long as I possibly can, and I'm trying to pace myself, and that is the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. These books, I've been listening to them on Audible. I finished Volume 4. I'll probably do Volume 5 in May, although I keep thinking I should save these for winter when there's nothing else to do, and you have to spend time inside. These are the coziest, most enjoyable books about a young woman named Emma M. Lyon. They are a joy to listen to. It's clean, it's fun, it's humorous, it's poignant, it's sentimental. I love everything about Emma M. Lyon, and I'm excited to know that Beth Brower, who is the author, has said that there will be up to like 25 of her journals, and each volume is not very long. It's just a few hours to listen to. So I hope that turns out to be true. I've not read any other Beth Brower, and I probably should try her out because I think she's very good. I even like her website. I feel close to Beth Brower just based on having read Emma M. Lyon. Anyone that can write that has to be a bunch of fun. But anyway, that's one that I enjoyed, both of those volumes of, I believe it was 3 and 4 that I finished. Another book that I read, and I have really fought hard to find a way to talk about this book. I'm surprised by it, and I'm surprised at my reaction to it, and that is John Irving's book, A Prayer for Owen Meany. It was written in the late 80s. John Irving is an icon among literary authors and literary fiction, and I did not like this book. I will tell you why, and I'll give you just a brief synopsis. I'm not going to give you a lot of details, partly because I'm not excited to talk about it, and partly because this is a deep, long book, and there's so many. It's so well woven together. So here's what the story is about. It is about two boys who become connected. They become friends through a tragic accident that occurs at the beginning of the book. And that is when one of the boys hits a baseball that hits the other boy's mother in the head during a Little League game, and the other boy's mother is killed. The person that hits the ball is Owen Meany, and the person whose mother is killed, who is Owen Meany's friend, is John Wheelwright. John Wheelwright tells this story. He narrates the story, and this starts pretty much from the time of their friendship when this horrible tragedy occurs. They live in a small town. John Wheelwright is from a well-to-do family, and he, up to the point of his mother's death, he pretty much lived with his grandma and his mom. His mother has remarried, and he has a wonderful stepfather, but he does not know who his father actually was, and his mother wasn't married at the time of his birth. Owen Meany, on the other hand, is a very unusual child. He is very small, probably a dwarf. He's got pointy little ears and pointy little nose, and he's very small. He's very light, which sort of figures into Owen's beliefs about his destiny, he's got what John Wheelwright refers to at the beginning, in the very first sentence of the book, as a wrecked voice, meaning that his voice is raspy and sort of high-pitched and irritating. And John Irving, the device that he used for Owen Meany's voice was to write everything that Owen Meany said. It is printed in all capital letters. And of course, this was before the idea that all capital letters means shouting or speaking in a loud voice in emails and such. This would have been before that time. But it is a great literary device. At the time of the accident that kills John Wheelwright's mother, Owen Meany considers himself to be an instrument of God, and he never loses that belief. He knows it in his own heart. He makes it very clear that this is what he believes, that he has a purpose on life, that there are no accidents, and then he has also foreseen his own death and dreamed about it and knows it down to the date, and he thinks he knows the location, but he knows the circumstances of his own death. And once that prophecy is fulfilled, it turns for John Wheelwright. He explains that as the reason why he is a Christian who believes in God. So I was disappointed by this book, and I'm going to talk. I can say from a literary standpoint, John Irving is a wonderful writer. He tells a great story, and I have no idea why he would have chosen to tell this story. To me, it was grotesque. It had comic moments for sure, but it was grotesque, and from a biblical worldview, It was, as far as I'm concerned, it was blasphemous. It was disgusting, and it completely negated the idea of of God's plan or any reason that a person would believe in God or call themselves a Christian. So the book that I really loved was Willa Cather's O Pioneers, which is, Willa Cather wrote this book in 1913. At the time, she was living in New York City. However, she was raised in Nebraska from about the time that she was 9 years old. She was part of an immigrant family, and this story is about a family of immigrants. The main character is Alexandra, and she is left at a fairly young age. I don't think they say the exact age, but she's left when she's fairly young with the task of making the prairie and the farm that they're trying to sustain themselves on work for her and her family. She has two brothers who are about her age. Her father has died, leaving her in charge, and it's a desolate, hard place. It's during a time of a drought. She has a younger little brother named Emil, who she feels very responsible for and who she enjoys very much. Her at the beginning of the book, people that are giving up there in Nebraska in that farm community, one of the people the family that leaves is the family of probably her closest friend, and not a romantic interest, I don't think. She doesn't see it that way particularly, or it's not mentioned that way in the book. But his name is Carl, and he comes to tell them that he is leaving. He says his father was never a great farmer, and he was never going to be a great farmer. And Alexandra is a little heartbroken when he leaves. But he leaves, and the next part of the book's told in 5 parts. In the next part of the book, Alexandra, it is 16 years later, she has made she's made it into a profitable farm. She enjoys looking out over the land that she considers hers at this point, although she shares it obviously with her brothers. That is a family operation. Her mother has passed. Emil has just come home from the university that she sent him to, hoping that he could choose a better life or choose a different life if he decides to. Her brothers, as I said, have married, and she likes her land. She calls it a checkerboard with corn and meadows and wheat, and there are windmills and brightly painted barns and well-maintained houses, phone lines, because it's around the turn of the century. It's near the end of the 1800s, and she's happy there. One of the things that happens is Carl comes home, Carl doesn't come home. I shouldn't say it that way. Carl stops by for a visit. He has been in St. Louis. He's had some kind of a career as an engraver. He is amazed at what Alexandra has made happen with the land. She invites him to stay for a while, and he agrees that he will stay. He said he had been on his way to Alaska to start another type of entrepreneurial type of business of some kind. And so Carl is home, and then Emil has graduated. He's home from college, and during that time, as the area has built up a little bit, Alexandra has made friends with a neighboring farmer's wife. It is Frank and Marie and Shabata, I believe their last name is. And she and Marie have become friends. Marie's she's quite young. She's cheerful. She's a little bit flirtatious. And she and Emil start a little bit of a flirtation. And Emil feels that he has fallen in love, that it's wrong, and decides to go away. So he decides he's going to go to Mexico. And in the meantime, Alexandra's brothers question Carl's motives in being there, and they feel that he is going to take advantage of Alexandra, and they go to Alexandra and say that the people in town are talking that Carl will make a laughingstock of her, and she tells them that it's no one's business, and that if she decides she wants to get married, she'll get married, and that it's none of their concern. And they fight back, saying it is our concern because this is our farm too. And she says, yes, but I've made it what it is, and I'm going to do what I want to do. It creates a rift. She's shocked by it, and it leaves her in a very unhappy state. Emil is going away again to Mexico to sort of figure out what he really wants in life. And her brothers go to Carl and talk to him, and they sort of run him off. And he does tell Alexandra that it's time for him to move on, and that he is going to go on to Alaska. And he agrees to write to her and to sort of keep in touch. But Alexandra kind of has a really hard winter, and she feels like things are not as wonderful and happy, and that things have sort of let her down. And that she feels more alone, and she's realizing how much she is alone, and that the land is really the thing that she has put herself into, and she's sad and unhappy. She visits with Marie somewhat, and Marie, who is almost the polar opposite of Alexandra. She's positive, she has a cheerful disposition, and she confesses to Alexandra that she's not very happy in her marriage, that Frank is maybe not very nice to her. And that also is a disappointment to Alexandra. It's a hard time in her life. From there, Emil does come back, and he's sort of decided that what he wants to do is he wants to go be an attorney in a larger town, and that he's going to pack up his books and go from there. But in the meantime, he sort of reestablishes this flirtation with Marie, and it becomes a little more serious, and they share a kiss and admit that they're in love, and still know that it's not going to be something that will work. And Emil decides again that it's the right thing for him to go away and become an attorney, and he's sad about it, but he feels like just knowing that Marie cares about him, it won't be so hard to go. So just before he leaves, there is an incident in the community where an individual dies, and Emil stays for the funeral. It is a friend of his, and Frank, Marie's husband, is at the funeral as well. And while there, Emil decides to go say goodbye to Marie one last time. From there, a horrible tragedy ensues, and the effect on Alexandra is profound. She is depressed. She is not herself. She is so down that people they almost don't recognize her. They can't believe the way that she is acting, and they can't believe, they really just can't believe what's happened. She tries to find a way to come to terms to it. She thinks a lot about what is right and wrong. She tries to find a way, and the last part of the book is about her resolution, about her reestablishing her belief in the land, and also in people, and also in finding happiness. And to me, it was just an absolutely beautiful ending. And it wasn't romance, it wasn't syrupy, it wasn't sweet, but it was very real, and it was very uplifting. So it was a love story in its way, in more than one way for Alexandra. So I would highly recommend O Pioneers, and I plan to read the other two books that she wrote, which are My Antonia and The Song of the Lark, which all three of those books sort of go together as the Pioneer trilogy, although I don't know that they're actually related to one another. So, another book that I listened to it was called I've Tried Being Nice, and it was by Anne Leary. And Anne Leary is an author. She's written, 4 or 5 books. One of them is The Good House, which was made into a movie with Sigourney Weaver, I believe. And this book is just a series of essays that Anne Leary, I got choked up, sorry, that Anne Leary wrote about her life. She's married to Dennis Leary. He's an actor and a stand-up comedian who, when they first got married, he was just a stand-up comedian, and they didn't have a big he wasn't a big name at all, but he became a big name. And her essays are about their life together and how they've navigated certain things since he became famous, and what her life is like, and some of her struggles, and some of the comic things that happen. She has a very self-deprecating sense of humor, and talks very frankly about her battles with alcohol, her battles with a life in Connecticut in a house that seems to be being overtaken by things like bats and raccoons, and just different things in her life. And it was very enjoyable. It's a fun bunch of essays, and I enjoyed that very much. It was fairly light reading, and I liked it. So those are the books that I've read. Like I said, there's a couple that I didn't finish that I'll come back to maybe. And I have lots of plans for June. I'm trying to get everything lined up for June and be a little more consistent now that my garden is. Hopefully my garden is in the ground. So watering and weeding is now my big project outdoors. So until then, until I've got a tag that's coming up, until then, please remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be kind to the planet, be blessed, and have a great day. Bye.